In the heart of New York City, where glass towers kissed the clouds and luxury cars glided through the streets like silent panthers, lived a man named Ethan Cross. Ethan was a self-made millionaire, smart, charming, and ruthless in business. But behind his polished smile hid a habit that made even his closest friends uncomfortable. He loved making jokes at the expense of those below him. He believed the world was divided into two kinds of people, winners and losers, and he was born to be on top. One rainy evening, Ethan hosted one of his famous weekend parties in his mansion, an event filled with celebrities, business tycoons, and socialites. Laughter echoed through the marble halls, glasses clinked, and cameras flashed. Among his friends was Liam, a fellow businessman and often the target of Ethan's jokes. But that night, Ethan had something special planned, a prank that would make everyone laugh. "Hey, Liam," Ethan said, smirking as he swirled his wine glass. "You know that new maid I hired last week, the one who barely speaks English? I'm going to invite her to the party tonight. Tell her it's a formal dinner, and let's see how she handles herself among millionaires." Everyone laughed. They imagined a shy, awkward woman dressed plainly, standing lost in the middle of a glittering crowd. It would be, as Ethan said, hilarious. He called his maid, Isabella, who was cleaning the guest room upstairs. "Isabella," he said, pretending to sound polite, "I'm hosting a dinner tonight. Why don't you join us? You've been working hard and I'd like to show some appreciation." Isabella hesitated. "Sir, me at dinner?" "Yes," Ethan chuckled. "Formal dress. Be here by 7. He hung up, smirking. His friends burst out laughing again. But what Ethan didn't know was that Isabella was not who she seemed. When 7 o'clock arrived, the party was in full swing. The grand chandeliers glittered, the orchestra played softly, and the room buzzed with conversation. Then the massive front doors opened, and the laughter fell silent.
Standing there was Isabella, but not the maid Ethan had expected. She wore a sleek black evening gown that shimmered under the lights. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. A diamond necklace, subtle yet striking, rested on her collarbone. Every step she took radiated confidence and grace. The guests stared, whispers spreading like wildfire. Who is she? Is that Ethan's maid? She looks like she walked straight out of a fashion magazine. Ethan's jaw dropped. For the first time in his life, he was speechless. Isabella smiled softly. "Good evening, Mr. Cross. You invited me, remember?" He nodded, unable to find words. His friends exchanged stunned looks. As the night went on, Isabella didn't fade into the background. She became the center of attention. She spoke with elegance, her voice calm and intelligent. She discussed art, business, and world politics with ease. Her charm drew everyone in, including Liam, who couldn't help but be impressed. Ethan's laughter was gone. Instead, he watched as his maid outshone every guest in the room. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He pulled her aside and whispered, "Who are you really?" Isabella looked at him calmly. "I am exactly who I said I am, Isabella Rossi. I work here because I choose to." "But how do you know all this? How do you carry yourself like that?" Ethan stammered. She smiled. "Before I came to this country, I was a fashion consultant in Milan. My husband died suddenly, and I lost everything. I took this job to survive, not to impress anyone." Ethan felt the ground shift beneath him. His so-called joke had turned into his greatest embarrassment. But the night wasn't done teaching him a lesson.
An elderly investor, Mr. Chambers, approached Isabella during the party. "My dear, your insights about textile exports were fascinating. Are you looking for opportunities? I own a fashion house that could use someone like you." Ethan froze. His maid was about to get $1 million job offer in front of all his elite friends. Isabella smiled politely. "Thank you, Mr. Chambers. I'd love to discuss it." The crowd erupted in applause. Ethan forced a smile, but inside he was boiling with shame and regret. Later, after everyone left, Ethan found Isabella by the garden fountain, gazing at the city lights. "Isabella," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology." She turned to him, her eyes kind but firm. "You don't owe me anything, Mr. Cross. You owe yourself a lesson. Never measure someone's worth by their position." He looked down. "You're right. I thought I was showing power, but I only showed weakness." She gave a small smile. "Then maybe tonight wasn't a loss for you either." As she walked away, her heels clicking softly against the marble, Ethan realized something had changed, not in her, but in him. Months later, Ethan received a glossy magazine in the mail. On the cover was Isabella Rossi, CEO of Rossi Designs, one of the fastest-growing luxury fashion brands in Europe. The headline read, "From Maid to Mogul, the woman who redefined grace and power."
Ethan smiled. Beneath the cover title, a quote from Isabella stood out. "Never let anyone decide your worth, because diamonds are still diamonds, even when covered in dust." He folded the magazine and whispered to himself, "Lesson learned."